One of the ever developing hallmarks of the Cardano ecosystem seems to be anti-fragility. It used to be a foregone conclusion that all blockchains would strive for that characteristic. But in an age where the leading smart contract platform can be jokingly dubbed a robbery forest, and another leading blockchain's outages and their failures are so routine they've almost lost newsworthiness, Cardano may be standing alone as the anti-fragile Generation 3 blockchain. Ready? Let's go. We're going to discuss an important set of questions about EVM sidechains in Cardano. Another DEX reporting a December launch date, more problems with the blockchain of one of our main competitors, and a new partnership for Liqwid. Today, Dwayne Cameron of Liqwid, a longtime fixture on the dApp side of the Cardano ecosystem, posed this scenario. Imagine depositing ADA in a copy pasta Solidity DeFi protocol on an EVM L2, which inherits little to zero security guarantees from the L1 chain, paying more in fees for a high friction user experience and unstaking your ADA in the process. I think I'll just use SundaySwap plus Plutus native DeFi. Obviously, this riled people up a little bit. Some were quick to jump in and suggest that multi-sig escrow solutions could allow for staking on EVM sidechains. There was quite a bit of friendly back and forth on this, but everybody seemed polite enough, and there was eventual understanding between the participants in the conversation. But I think the thrust of DC's main point in this original post still holds. And I'm not talking about any particular EVM sidechain here. I'm just talking about the idea of an EVM sidechain, at least my interpretation of this idea of an EVM sidechain. It's sort of been taken as gospel that interoperability and the building of new things is always beneficial. And certainly, interoperability is going to be a prevalent thing. All signs point to it being a big theme in the future, no matter any of our perspectives on it. However, when I think about DC's post, I realize that there's no way I'm going to send my ADA to some sidechain where I would have to lock it in a script to wrap it so that I can then use Solidity based apps. I would never do that. I would never want to do that if there's any reasonable homegrown Plutus based version of that dApp, at least one that's providing me the same sort of service or product on the same sort of terms. To me, the more native Plutus-based apps we have, the healthier the Plutus ecosystem will be, and that will only add to the strength of Cardano. Surely you could argue that a diversity of languages can add to the strength of an ecosystem, but right here at the start, it's really hard for me to not say that I'd rather prioritize giving our native Plutus apps a full opportunity to blossom. I think Charles's analogy will play out, and the island and the ocean are both going to end up being more important than the pond long term. You remember from that analogy that the pond was Ethereum and EVM compatible dApps, and the island was Cardano, and the ocean was the whole rest of the world of computer science and developers of all of the languages that may not have a very large presence in blockchain projects today. But on top of all that, I don't want to lock my ADA anywhere, whether it's on the Cardano base layer or some EVM sidechain, because as we know from all of our lobster trap discussions, you voluntarily giving up custody and moving your assets off your hardware wallet seems to be a prime ingredient in becoming a victim of robbery forest. Obviously, we've been talking about ecosystem anti-fragility, and this is more a matter of personal anti-fragility. If you just keep your assets on your ledger and don't send them anywhere, you don't have to worry so much about these robbery forest type incidents. So, to be clear, just because I would hesitate to use a certain service or product doesn't mean that it won't or shouldn't exist. EVM sidechains will certainly exist. And the idea of getting Ethereum based Solidity projects to come over to Cardano is very, very attractive. But I think the question that this post makes me think about is whether or not the net effect of all this will be diverting developer attention from the Solidity Ethereum EVM world over to Cardano, or whether it will be more an effect of diverting Cardano based traffic from our own native Plutus based dApps to these EVM based dApps. I think that's unclear at this point. In my mind, it's unclear what that net effect will be. Just on a practical level, I probably I would be very hesitant to use these EVM based sidechains just because I don't like sending my ADA anywhere. The idea of sending my ADA somewhere, locking it so they can be wrapped so I can use it with the EVM based dApps, I'm probably never going to do that if there's a Plutus based alternative that's being offered to me on similar terms. But even beyond those practical considerations, it's very unclear to me what the net effect of these EVM sidechains will be. The great thing is, I guess we'll all get to sit back and find out because they're certainly going to exist. There's also some additional nuance in this question around timing because I think it's two different scenarios. If the native Plutus based apps are allowed to blossom and grow on their own for a while and gather their strength and get a good following, a lot of Cardano traffic, and then these EVM based apps are introduced to Cardano. I think that's one scenario where these already very established dApps over on the Ethereum side are allowed to just kind of shift over and start taking up some of that Cardano traffic right at the start. I think that may be a different circumstance. It may lead to different effects on the native Plutus-based apps. But again, it looks like we are going to get these EVM sidechains right at the start. So we'll probably never get to see that world where the Plutus native dApps get to develop on their own. Probably it's just going to be, you know, this competitive scenario right at the start. And we'll probably never find out which one is actually going to be better for the Cardano native dApps because we're only going to get to live in one of those two realities. Again, let me reiterate, this is just about the idea generally of EVM sidechains and not about any particular project. In other news, it looks like the launch of the MeowSwap DEX is going to take people by surprise the same way that the MuesliSwap DEX launch did. It seems like they're saying here they will distribute Meow tokens, deploy the DEX on multiple nodes, and open the DeFi gates sometime in between now and the 20th of December. Solana was trending again today. This is happening so routinely, it's almost becoming not newsworthy. But the Solana network seemed to be having more trouble today. We had reports here withdrawals may fail but can be retried, network wide. What do they say? Network wide degradation in performance. Down below here, you can see becoming a weekly occurrence now, this poster says, and posted this screenshot with a huge number of red failed transactions. It turns out that huge amounts of VC money don't necessarily buy network stability. We also found out about a great new partnership for Liqwid with ADA Handle. This is really interesting to me. We've talked many times on this channel about how digital identity will probably be a big piece of compliance when regulation finally comes to DeFi in any kind of meaningful way. And even though Cardano DeFi has only slightly launched, I mean, we've got a DEX that's running, and we've got another big DEX that's on the testnet being used a lot, but it's like slightly launched, but not really yet. And even in this state of being slightly launched, we've already got this great foundation for digital identity in Cardano DeFi. We've got all of the things that Atala Prism can offer for digital identity, and we've got ADA Handle. When Liqwid posts exploring composable digital identity products together, this gets me excited because we've seen ADA Handle partner with a wide variety of projects. ADA Handle is obviously going to be the standard for human readable addresses in Cardano, and the effects that might have on composability seem like they could be tremendous. So I'm really excited to see what Cardano DeFi looks like in the future, especially if we do see that very heavy regulation and things like digital identity are really the only way to comply. I think this could be a very interesting future for Cardano. I hope you're having a great week, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.